if you've ever been in North Melbourne on a Saturday morning, you would have seen a line at Beatrix Bakes. That's because Natalie Paul makes the most amazing cakes and pastries. You do, in particular, this vanilla slice, and we get to make it from scratch.
Yes. Lots of people are scared about making vanilla slice.
Yep.
And I know the first ones that I made just were a mess.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm really excited to teach you and everyone else about how to have success.
Amazing. So vanilla slice, a combination of delicious pastry and silky smooth custard.
Delicious. Let's get started.
Okay.
Let's get the milk in the pot.
Sure can. Yes.
With some lemon peel and a scraped out vanilla bean.
Oh, lovely. And a bit of cream too.
That's right.
Okay.
We're going to bring that up to just under a boil. And the pastry, I've made my own puff pastry because you're worth it, Justine.
Thank you.
And I've baked it underneath a heavy baking sheet.
Right.
And what that does is it stops it from warping really badly.
Right, yes.
So I have a little bit of flatness.
Okay.
So I have a nice, even, engineered vanilla slice.
Because if you don't put those 2 baking sheets on the puff pastry, it's just going to go everywhere. It's out of control.
That's right, out of control. And we don't want out of control puff for this.
We don't.
Controlled puff.
Exactly.
And I am going to cut out my puff, and the best way to do that is to use the tray you're going to build the vanilla slice into.
Okay.
So it's better to cut around it than to try and get the ruler out and measure it.
See, there you go. There's already a really good tip there. And a simple tip on top of it.
So it's just a template, and if I just put a little bit of pressure on my tin, and then I angle my knife in and just give it a little sharp sawing motion around the base.
And you can see there that Nat's using a little small serrated knife, which is also a great little tip because, you know, it does crumble away. It's buttery, it's flaky puff pastry. So by having that control, it's not going to break.
That's right. So there.
Oh,
I have a beautiful square. Voila.
Voila.
And I'm just going to line my tray with some Glad wrap. This will make it nice and easy to lift out. And my favourite way to do this with any kind of slab baking is to do a little crosshatch. So I get a bit of extra strength.
Yes.
Because you need it with something
Well,
as hefty as all that custard. And then I just press it into the corners.
So I can imagine this at the end when we're demoulding. It's just going to come straight out.
Pop it out.
Effortless.
Yep. Now I'm going to hope that this fits straight in. The pressure.
Perfect. Of course it fits in. It's Natalie Paul, guys. Lovely.
Great. Now to the custard.
Okay.
So yolks come over.
Sure. Pass that to you.
We're just going to put the sugar and the corn flour in at the same time. We don't want to do this too far ahead because people refer to it as the yolks burning.
Yeah.
But what actually happens is that if the sugar goes on too soon, they'll dehydrate and they'll leave little orange lumps all the way through your custard. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So you want to do that when you've got your cream and milk ready to go.
Yep.
So I'm just going to bring these together until they form a thick paste. And we are going to now strain that beautifully infused milk into our yolks.
Oh, I can smell it. I love that vanilla and the lemon.
And you don't have to use lemon and you don't have to use vanilla. So other flavours you can do is like an orange or mandarin peel into your milk.
Orange peel actually sounds quite nice, or even mandarin when they're in season.
When they're
Why
in,
not?
beautiful, and you can put glacéed, do some candied mandarins for the top. You can put a little bit of orange blossom in it.
I can just see your
which is really nice. Yeah, I just
mind
love
going wild with all the different flavours.
I just love riffing on fruit. I think fruit's so magical in all baking.
Sure is.
Great. So that's all mixed and that can go back into our pot now.
Okay, so I'll let you pour that in.
Scrape it.
Yes, absolutely. And so because we've got that corn flour in there, it does thicken up quite fast, doesn't it?
It does. And this is going to cook until it thickens up like a mashed potato, like a loose mashed potato.
Nice.
That's beautiful. That's pure silk. And so you'll see a couple of bubbles come through. That means that the corn flour is completely cooked.
Ah, there we go.
Beautiful. And now that that's cooking nicely, we'll add the butter while it's hot and let it melt through the mix. And while that cools down, to add to our tin, I'm going to cut the second piece of pastry so it's all ready to assemble. Justine, now that that's cooled down, that can be poured into our prepared tin.
Fantastic.
You can just blob it in there.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, it comes straight out of that.
And I'm going to take my favourite kitchen utensil, an offset spatula, and just smooth it out so it hits the corners really nicely.
Yeah.
And it's super even. And that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And then we're going to flip the puff. Do you want to do
Oh,
it?
right. No, I'm letting you do this.
So it just flips on top. So I've got the nice flat underside as our top.
Right.
And you can see with this tin, it splays out a little bit.
Yes.
I'm going to use my plastic
Yep.
to bring it in.
Good old Glad Wrap does the job
Glad
there.
wrap
Yep.
does more than you think it does. And this is all wrapped up, ready to have a little nap in the fridge. So our vanilla slice is completely set. Feels nice and firm and sturdy, but it'll still be soft and silky inside.
Of course, very important.
And I'd love you to start making the glaze for me.
Sure.
And this is a hot milk glaze, so it's going to be a little bit runny so we can smooth it onto the vanilla slice, but it will set nice and firm, so it will cut beautifully. And we're going to put the butter and the milk and the pulp of 2 juicy passion fruit.
Ooh. There's that little introduction of some more fruit, which
More
we
fruit,
love
which
so
I think,
much.
and always fresh passion fruit. It just sparkles like nothing else, not tinned. And again, if you don't have fresh passion fruit, you can use fresh lemon zest
Yes.
and a bit of lemon juice
Yeah.
or some mandarin. I'm going to unmould our slice. I'm going to peel back the Glad wrap
Okay.
to that. Are you ready?
demoulding.
Are you ready?
So ready.
And it just flops out nicely. If it doesn't, just hold the side of the tin and just kind of hold onto the plastic as well, and it creates like a bit of force.
Yep.
That's our beautiful
There it is,
slice.
in all its glory.
Got our beautiful straight sides. So that's bubbling now.
Okay.
And we're going to pour about 2/3 into our icing sugar mix and start to use a whisk to mix it together and make a smooth paste.
Okay, so it's 2/3.
Great. We don't want to rush the icing sugar, so
Right.
we want to control the consistency with it. So that needs a little bit more, so we can pour a little bit more in.
Yeah, icing sugar is notorious for, it's too dry, it needs more, but then it absorbs the liquid so fast.
And then it gets so runny
Yeah.
that you have to add more icing sugar, and then you're in this vicious circle of adding more icing sugar and liquid. So you can see how that's come together really nicely. I'm going to take my whisk out, tap off any excess. And then I'm going to scrape it super well so I get every precious piece of icing, because the icing does really make the vanilla slice. And then I'm just going to smooth it to the corners. And if I stop just before the edges,
Yep, it just won't
it
cascade too much
It won't
over.
cascade too much.
Oh, look at that. You can see it's coming into shape. It is a giant vanilla slice at the moment.
It is a giant.
I always remember being a kid and having those beautiful vanilla slices at the bakeries, 4 hours out of Sydney or wherever we were going,
Yeah.
and then just eating it like as if it was our last pastry on earth. It was just so good, and this just reminds me of it so much.
That's what it should do. That's its perfect thing.
I love it.
And now we're going to cut this beauty.
Okay.
And the great thing about making our own vanilla slice is that we can cut it any size we want.
Fantastic. I love
We don't
that.
have to let the bakery do it.
Exactly.
What we're dealing with here is what I call a crunch, squidge, crunch sandwich.
Yes.
So you need to do a little bit of gentle sawing at the start.
I love that hot water on standby, just
Yep.
so you've got a hot knife.
And just dampen it.
Yep.
And then we're going to saw through that top layer.
Okay.
And then I go back over the line that I've made, and then I cut through the second 2 layers.
So basically, don't be afraid to put your knife back into the hot water, clean it again, because that helps with it.
Especially with puff, because you're picking up all these crumbs from the internal.
Yes.
And you don't want to put those crumbs on the outside.
Gotcha. Okay.
Beautiful.
Look at that. It's perfect. Well, that slice is for you,
Yep,
and that's for me.
for you. Yeah, great. All right, done. And
Control myself.
And then we can cut it into, say, 3 again. So again, just cutting through the top bit.
Yep.
And then straight all the way
Oh,
through.
look at that.
Beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
I think they're nice
I think
sizes.
you've done that a few times because they're the perfect squares.
Let's have a slice.
Oh, yes, please.
So we'll pop it onto our plate.
Ah, and there's that famous slice right there. So good.
And use a nice sharp knife to cut it because it is a mess.
Absolutely.
And
Tuck in.
tuck in.
All right. Well, this is
Memories of childhood bakeries
Yes.
revisited.
Usually I would sort of lean over like
Yeah, it
this.
has to be.
Natalie Paul, I do love you dearly. Because I have tried many vanilla slices in my time, but this certainly takes the cake. I had to say it, sorry, I had to. It's amazing.
Great fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.